So good afternoon, everyone. Happy Mandela Day. Thank you for choosing to spend a couple of hours with us on the topic Business Support Training, Growing Your Business Beyond Borders. I am Chibuike. I am an energy consultant, but working the span of SDGs from gender advocacy to sustainability and environmental support. I am here with a team of experts to speak to us on the topic of business training. And today we have them one by one, but just before we go in to sort of present the topic for today, growing your business beyond borders. We all know that the COVID pandemic has exposed deep inequality in our world today and has impacted everyone from governments to individuals to businesses. Small and medium-sized enterprises and informal sector have been the worst hit, and this is the lifeblood of the African economy. According to the World Bank statistics from December 2020, 80% of jobs, a huge amount. Given the importance of SMEs to African economies, the topic today and the question, or the underlying question I'll be asking all our speakers to touch on is that given the importance of SMEs to African economies, how can led businesses survive, thrive, and add value to their communities in these difficult times? I'm sure this is a question on most of our minds. But before we delve right in to this presentation, the presentation by the speakers, as we said, today is Mandela Day. And on Mandela's birthday, we pay tribute to someone extraordinary who shaped African history during the 20th century and whose legacy continues to live on. So we know that Madiba was an extraordinary global advocate for dignity, for equality, for human rights. And the theme for his and inspire change. In that light, I'd like to give a big thanks to the sponsor of today's webinar, the Mandela Institute for Development Studies, which is MINDS. It's a think tank which provides a forum for dialogue, for research, for dissemination of information and networking on different elements pertaining to Africa. So thank you so much to MINDS, and I hope that today we can have an engaging discussion with all of our participants to move forward from the legacy that Mandela left to providing poverty alleviation and justice for all. Just before I move on, I would like to ask if we have any Francophone participants on the line to provide translation if needed. Donc, y a-t-il des francophones sur la ligne? Est-ce que vous aurez besoin de la traduction? Petro, we have a translator, Petro, who is on the line. I would just ask you to present yourself and your services, and hopefully anyone who needs translation can let us know, and then we can pause momentarily for translation if we have francophone participants on the line. Donc, Petro, je vous demande d'activer votre micro pour vous demander si on a des interlocuteurs francophones sur la ligne, s'il vous plaît. Merci.
Merci. Bonjour à tous. Mon nom est Petro Mbouania. Je serai votre traducteur pour ce soir. Et bienvenue à ce séminaire, à ce training. Si vous n'écoutez pas le français, vous voudrez la traduction, nous sommes là pour traduire pour vous. Donc, faites-nous signe. Alors, nous ferons en sorte que vous puissiez aussi être satisfait. Merci.
Merci. If you have, if there are any francophones on the line. Meanwhile, we will continue this presentation in English because consecutive translation will take a lot of time. But please, if you need translation, do let us know in the chat or by raising your hand, and we'll be sure to make sure that you get the information in French as well. So before we have four speakers today, as I said, four speakers today. The first speaker, Afful, who will be speaking to us about the African Continental Free Trade Area. Then we will have a business strategy presentation. We will then have a presentation from Mujidah on sustainability of SMEs in Africa. And finally, we will have Joe, who will present on the Voice1Africa initiative. Before I move to the first speaker, I will be presenting his profile, but we would like the session to be as interactive questions in the box. Just to remind all the speakers that you have 10 to 15 minutes to make your presentation, and then we'll move on to the next person so that we are very conscious of time. Without further ado, I would like to present the first speaker, Luis Afful, who will be presenting the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, or Free Trade Area. Some of you, some business owners might have been hearing of the AfCFTA, which came into force early this year in January, and have been asking questions about how this agreement can be beneficial to their businesses and to their livelihoods. So Mr. Afful is the Executive Director for AfCFTA Policy Network. He's a chairman of the Executive Council of the APN Women of Africa Network, and he is the CEO of Lobby Enterprise. He is an international trade practitioner and serves on various international boards, such as the Global Chamber of Commerce, member of SEEDS, and he's a specialization strategist. Without further ado, Mr. Afful, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your
yes, thank you.
Panelists. Good afternoon to participants, and I'm happy that we are organizing this program to really sensitize businesses about the continental free trade and then business strategy. And I think that it is the right time. So basically, it's an agreement that has come to stay, and it has to focus on intra-African business. Let me put it that way. How to do more business among Africans, intra-African business. Before the continental free trade, we were actually having trade. The difference is that this one has come to boost intra-African trade by tax on export taking off, or tax on certain category of products taking off. About 90% of products are going to be liberalized over a long period of time, and eventually zero tariff. That is good news for business owners and people who want to do business or who want to do trade. Why? Because then your cost of exporting outside Africa will be reduced, so that you can concentrate on your comparative advantage to be able to expand your business. So the 54 countries have signed the agreement, 41 are full members, and as you said earlier, trading has started. What kind of trading? Trading where there is free movement of goods and services, trading where there is free movement of persons has commenced. So it means that countries like Ghana and Nigeria, who are members of the agreement, or full members of the agreement, can trade among themselves goods and services moving freely without trade barriers. Without trade barriers like position of tax on export or duties. This is very important. Therefore, the agreement says that we have protocols, trading goods, trading services. Trading services have about 12 sectors, but about 5 have been, or is working now, because you have to negotiate among member states for them to take away some of their sovereignty in certain areas. So communication, ICT is one, it is ready. Professional bodies, financial institutions, tourism, these are ready protocols that are in place. The rest of the 7 are still being away. The rest of the 7 will see aviation, will see construction, will see health, will see, we'll see more into, like I mentioned, education and the rest. That is very important. The rest of the world, about 50% of GDP now is coming from services sector. So you realize that a lot of startups that are coming these days are within the ecosystem of ICT, tech, and what have you. So the agreement really has covered most areas of doing business, apart from trading goods, trading services. The trading goods, we have rules of origin to support how we trade, because without rules of origin, everybody can dump anything on us and say it's made in Africa. But the rules of origin are going to guide what kind of goods qualify for originating status, what kind of goods qualify to be given concessions, to be given tariff-free, or to be given duty-free. That is very important. And the trading goods, you're also looking at some key annexes like phytosanitary, which has to do with animals and plants. So it has covered that side, plant medicine, animal science, and what have you. We're also looking at very important area, free movement of people. A lot of countries now are waiving off their visas. Most African visas are paid on arrival, but with this continental free trade, it's building on the Abuja Treaty 1981, which is expecting, or which is trying to give right to entry, right to establishment in the member states. So, for example, I should be able to move to Tanzania, right of entry, right to establish myself in the area of trading services. Maybe I am an ICT expert, maybe I'm a professional. I should be able to move to these countries to establish myself. The only thing is that this, with agreement, regulatory framework has been urged to be a bit flexible. Gone are the times when we will bar companies coming to invest in certain sectors of your economy. Once you liberalize, once you sign under this agreement, your trading services must be open for investment, must be open for people to grab. Again, the Continental Free Trade Agreement doesn't only look at goods and services, it looks at other areas like e-commerce, which is still under negotiation. It's looking at competition policy. How can we compete? So you see, once you talk about free trade, competition is the first thing you should think of, because you have opened up your own borders, you've opened up trade, you've opened up your economy. Then we are looking at investment. Investment is also key. How do we do investment? There have been so many foreign direct investments outside Africa. How can we have intra-African investments? So the Continental Free Trade Agreement has about 6 protocols and many annexes. And what is it? It's targeting a market of about 1.2+ billion of people, accessible market. And we are expected to have a revenue of about 2.3, 2.4. I'm always saying that even the expected revenue is not too much, because we're still lagging behind India. The whole continent is lagging behind some countries. It's not good. So we are supposed to position ourselves to boost trade. The focus of the Continental Free Trade Agreement is about export and import. It's about how startups will be able to access financial support from their countries in order to enter into value chain activities. And if you read very carefully, you realize that Africa, main bone in the economy is agribusinesses. Agribusinesses will drive or will catalyze the manufacturing and industrialization process, which is very, very important. The Continental Free Trade Agreement is saying that, look, all the necessary things that will be needed to make sure that we trade among ourselves, let's do. So it's going to focus on what we call BIAT. These are the structures called BIAT, boosting intra-African trade. We have trade information. Every country must develop its trade information, trade infrastructure, trade-related infrastructure. You can't just trade. If you, after the goods are produced, how are the goods going to another country? How are you taking the goods? So trade facilitation also comes in. So trade infrastructure has to do with the necessary infrastructure needed to trade well. And then after that, you move to trade facilitation, border issues. Then you have also trade finance. Yes, people say, look, I have good plans, I have good business ideas, but there's no money. So how are countries going to position themselves? So banks like Afrizim Bank, though it's a commercial bank, has been tasked by the heads of states to support the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade. And I'm sure many other banks will come in that light. There will be supporting financial institutions, they'll be supporting business associations, they'll be supporting people who are already in the exportable chain. Within the next 5 minutes, I will say that the Continental Free Trade Agreement is not just only about goods, it's also about services, exporting your skills, knowledge transfer. Especially for professionals. You are in a country A and you feel that your services will be more needed in country C. Per the agreement, you should be able to enter. Maybe there is a regulatory requirement of writing an exams. That's okay, but your qualification must be recognized. That's what the agreement is looking at by the time it's fully negotiated by December. Another area is that the Continental Free Trade doesn't have women in trade as a protocol, but they are working towards it by the end of the year to have women. Women form about more than 60% in informal trade. And so once they take hold of border trading and cross-border trading, you will see a viability within the agreement. Another thing we have to know is that right now, COVID-19 or the pandemic has taught us that the worst thing to fear is pandemic. And so very soon, we're going e-commerce. There's a lot of e-commerce platforms, e-commerce booming in Africa. And now you realize that one of the greatest hot product is vaccines. So how are we even going to transport vaccines? How are we going to manufacture? Then the health issue I talked about, health sector comes in. So e-commerce is going to change the scope and the operationalization of the Continental Free Trade. And I urge businesses that this is the time to look at it. When there were lockdowns, restrictions, how were you doing business? So you have to position yourself with the mindset of a pandemic in mind to be able to boost your e-commerce platform. To this end, the Continental Free Trade has come in agreement with the Afrizim Bank to develop what we call the Pan-African payment system. Africa has so many inconvertible currencies. So the platform which is going to be launched in August called Pan-African Payment System, it's going to be like a kind of Africa's Visa. We're going to have one platform. This is a payments platform. So you don't need to get Naira before you transfer Naira to your supplier in Nigeria. The platform has had an integration process with almost all the African central banks, let you feel, so that you can have your denominated currency and pay for any transaction to any other supplier in another country. So the Continental Free Trade practically is just, most importantly, about liberalizing 90% of your product without duty, so duty-free over a period of time. It's about service industry opening up so that people can move and be able to have more network. The Continental Free Trade is also about dispute settlement. When we are having all these border issues, where do we go? It has made opportunity for us to have that kind of dispute settlement, so that there's no bully in the Continental Free Trade. No country is superior. Every country is on the threshold of free and fair. The only difference is that countries that are not of the same economic might as others will be supported in their first 2 years of a certain credit facility to support their loss of revenue because of the import duty free. Last but not the least, one of the areas that Continental Free Trade is going to look at is that it is part of the Agenda 2063 of the African Union. It is just one of them. So Africa is looking at integrating itself between now and 2063 in the area of market. That's the first one we've seen, the Continental Free Trade. But the next one will be one custom union. One custom union, whatever customs practice you see in Cote d'Ivoire, you see it in Angola, you see it in Tanzania. Then after that, we have one African currency. So they're going to have one African central bank, one currency, one passport. One passport will have to be ready even by the year 2022. It was supposed to be ready as of last year. So we're looking at one passport. That is going to help, because that is what is going to really be a strong base for the ability to move to other countries. Sorry for my noise background. Then again, you are looking at another very important thing that Continental Free Trade brings. It brings a whole lot of satellite investment. I want to rest my point here. Maybe if there are questions later, I'll take it up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Afful, for that amazing presentation. There were so many
Afful.
highlights from that,
Oh, yes.
from the rules of origin to trade facilitation. So there's a lot, and I'll ask all participants who want to ask a question to raise their hands, and they can take a question. But maybe I can just start. I have two questions for you. That was a very clear presentation of what the AfCFTA is, even though it has been a year, well over a year in the making, in negotiations, in discussions with African leaders. So it would be how the AfCFTA and other regional economic communities like ECOWAS, like North African, how do they balance each other? Or is it a standalone? My second question was regarding rules of origin legislation. As all Africans would know, and me as well, we know how our borders are. They can sometimes be porous. So in the context of porous barriers, how do we make sure that other countries, such as China or India or European countries, don't take advantage of this tariff-free zone, and goods, for example, don't come in from other countries masquerading as African goods, but taking advantage of this? So those are my two questions, but I just think if you could throw some light also on how Africans can enter into the value addition, the business of value addition, because in different countries there are many raw materials produced, but higher goods are necessary in the world. In a country like Nigeria that produces oil, we export refining and then we import it back, and it's given to us as refined petrol. The price is so high that we even need subsidies. In Cote d'Ivoire or Ghana, for example, that produce cocoa, they export cocoa and import chocolate that is so expensive for even Africans to purchase. So if you could say a few words on the rule of origin, on value chain, that would be really helpful. And the floor is open for other participants to raise their hands.
All right. Thank you very much for your question. I mean, these were envisaged. You see, honestly, I keep saying that the continental free trade has not come to do any magic. Whatever we were doing before, we have to still be doing. In fact, the difference is the tariff issue coming to the, and then other protocols. The continental free trade did not come to do away with regional existing blocks. No. If you look at the preamble of the agreement, it says it's going to work or build on the regional economic blocks or regional economic corporations. That is very important. So that if ECOWAS was doing something, it's not come to do away with everything ECOWAS was doing. No, it's going to work hand in hand and build. That is the umbrella. That in that perspective, then it means therefore that it is not coming. It's an economic agreement, not political one, where it's going to interfere with other issues. However, if you take, for example, the Continental Free Trade Agreement, the rules of origin has been carefully designed and carefully negotiated, such that the components of it, which has to do with whether it's partially made, wholly made, or value addition. The key area is the value addition. The value addition is Africa is not a fully industrialized economy. Africa economies are growing and transforming gradually. Therefore, there are certain manufacturing inputs that will be imported from outside Africa. When you import those materials or inputs and you finish a product, would you say you qualify for an originating status? In other words, we have to accept that it's made in Africa for you to enjoy the duty free. That is what value addition is doing. Value addition is, look, we are giving you up to 60%. What that means is that whatever input you take from wherever it is in as part of your manufacturing process, and the goods, after the goods have been produced, your ex-factory price and whatever you do should not go beyond 61%. It is going to attract originating status. Remember, if you buy X from Brazil, and then you come here and you come to Africa and then you rear it or it hatches and then you start, you have a chicken, it is not produced in Brazil, it is produced in Africa. and so you qualify for originating status, which is very, very important. So the rules of origin is clear on the harmonization and headings. We don't want to go, that's another time. So we have harmonization and headings for various goods. Then what is important is what we call the tariff concessions. The tariff concessions are in an ordinary man's term, the list of products that countries are saying, I am ready to liberalize. I am ready to let go. So when you bring it to my country, it's tax-free. Those lists must be submitted to the Secretariat, after Secretariat, or it will be published on what we call the Africa Trade Observatory. The Africa Trade Observatory is like the website that is going to be harmonizing or having all countries publish their, what do you call it, their tariff concessions, so that it's easy for businesses to know that, okay, this country, when I'm going, they don't accept this product, they don't accept that product, or this product is not meant for grab. The reason why it is 90% of product, and I'm going to, it's connecting to your question. The reason why we have 90% of product liberalized is that 10% has been left for countries. Out of that 10%, we call them the sensitive list and exclusive list. These are supposed to support growing industries. The sensitive list and the exclusive list. With the exclusive list, you are saying that, well, no matter what, I'm never going to negotiate. With the exclusive list, you are saying that maybe in the future we will negotiate for tariff liberalization. So it means that business associations have to be on the watch out to see that within my country, this list provided by the Ministry of Trade is saying that, look, this list, I'm not supposed to see any of these products within my country. So when you start seeing them, then you have to approach them. Why? How did it get in here? Because you have not liberalized that. That is to support growing industries. The same way, if a product comes from outside Africa, and it's coming from, as you mentioned, China, Europe, whatever it is, the trade, the agreement is talking about preferential. When you talk about free trade, it's talking about preferential treatment. Therefore, the preferential treatment, which has to do with concessions granted, is only for member states. Only for member states. So any product that is made outside Africa, which has not been given an originating status by the rules of origin, will not go duty-free. So countries can go ahead and have partnership agreements with other countries outside Africa. That is not bad at all. However, you cannot give a concession to a country outside Africa and then you try to impose restrictions upon a member state. No. So for example, if Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana and Nigeria are members, Ghana cannot give concession because of a trade agreement to goods coming from Brazil, and then when it comes to Cote d'Ivoire, say, no, as for this your goods, I'm going to impose tariff. No way. The rules of origin allows that fair trade. So that is just a summary of how the rules of origin is going to be. Now, with the question of you asked about the North African whatever, the agreement is an economic agreement. It's looking at how boosting intra-African trade will be. So it's not going to limit itself to any. The only country that has not signed is Eritrea. All the other countries have ratified. It's there for some of them to finish submitting their letters of ratification. But most, apart from Eritrea, everybody have signed. Now, some of the protocols, you see, the agreement was said that if you are not careful, you will bring everything and it loses its direction. So security issues are very important. Security issues are very important, but you cannot fit it directly inside the agreement. So you realize that we said that you must ease your borders. So what happens? The Continental Free Trade is also working on liberalization of institutions. So when they say liberalization of institutions, the agreement is saying that, look, let people move freely. So what will happen? How will people move if your borders are closed? So automatically it's telling you that work on your border issues with any other country. So what will happen is that the ministers of trade, they form a council, an architect, within the architecture of that Continental Free Trade. They will advise the heads of state that, look, heads of states, you are the final, the assemblies of heads of states, you are the final implementers of this agreement. We are having border issues. Our people are telling us that they are having border issues. So the ministers of trade will now refer it to the heads of state. And then they go for extraordinary summit and say, look, all borders that are closed, please reopen your borders in the interest of trade and peace. That can be done. That is what I think. And then finally, in the area of value addition, as I said, currently, agribusiness, I support the words of the African Development Bank. The president, what he said. this thing. He said, look, agribusiness is going to make a lot of millionaires in Africa because we're looking at about almost trillions of dollars revenue. And it is a place that you don't need so much intensive capital. But the process, the agri-processing alone is going to lead into a massive industrialization and manufacturing sector. So agribusiness should be a great area. Not only agribusinesses. Apart from the agribusinesses, you are looking at areas such as what we call the exporter. I'm sorry, I'm a hope. You're going to look at exportable chains. The exportable chains are, you know, maybe you are within the value chain, but you are not ready to export. So you will now trade with a company that will export. I'm giving you consultancy free. you might belong to a chain, but you are not the final exporter. So you can be able to position yourself so that you will now support the chain by providing or supplying to the exportable company. The exportable company with that capacity will not export. You will take whatever you're supposed to. So the value chains can be built on comparative advantage. And I was happy you mentioned Ghana's cocoa issue. We realized that, look, enough is enough. Why are we taking all the beans out when we can, in fact, do whatever we want to do? It is sad to know that Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire put together, their cocoa output is more than any other country. But when it comes to chocolate revenue, Netherlands leads the whole world. Why? In the same way, when you come to other minerals, when you come to other raw materials, why? And I'm happy that countries like Rwanda are showing the way. They are building refinery, gold refinery. They said, look, things, we don't want to take the raw gold out like that. No, how can we let the raw gold go out like that, the bar, and then it comes in wristwatches, gold wristwatches, and we are happy to wear ornamentals? No, the same way. We have to look at the same way when it comes to other sectors of the economy. So the value chain, identify a product, identify a market, build upon the kind of chain that you feel you have the capacity, and then again, seek for the support. Apart from building that chain, look also for your comparative advantage as a country. Let me end by saying that, look, it will not, we will be entering into a system we call the barter system very soon. And that will help us. Why? Because if Nigeria, why would Nigeria import a lot of salt from elsewhere when Ghana can supply Nigeria a whole quantity of salt? Why would Ghana also import wheat from Iran when we know that Nigeria can supply us wheat so much? So why don't we can go into that barter agreement? It's done. Because we are going into joint infrastructure development to support trade facilitation. Currently, Ghana is going to have an extension of rail between Ghana and Burkina Faso. That is a joint investment. The same way we can do it when it comes to looking at value chains in terms of barter system. I just want to rest my point here, and then over to you, moderator.
Thank you so much for those the explanation. I think I've gotten answers to questions, and I think you provided a lot of clarity, additional clarity on a lot of issues regarding how the practicalities of how ministers of trade can go and clarify issues relating to borders. Due to time constraints, I would suggest that we move to the second speaker and come back to questions on the AfCFTA if we have them at the end, toward the end of the presentation. But we will be taking, we will be moving on because we're almost an hour into the time. And our next speaker is Chibuike. I'll just share my screen. I'll share his presentation before. Chibuike is an alumnus of Sean Cousins Business School, Owerri. He's also a member of the British Project Management Academy, the UK, and an alumnus of Wesley Institute of Management. He holds a bachelor's degree from Imo State University and is an alumnus of YALI, a Young African Leaders Initiative, a regional leadership conference, West Africa. He has a certificate on the fundamental of digital marketing from Google and a certificate on human resources management entrepreneurship. Chibuike Ebujiem founded the Sound Mind Build-Up to help entrepreneurs develop and grow in any situation, setting them up for the 21st century success. He teaches strategies that help him start his own business with no money, scaling it up very successfully after conquering odds. He is currently nominated for the Founder of the Year award. Without further ado, the virtual mic is yours. Chibuike, unmute yourself.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this wonderful event. It's an honor to be here. Trying to on my video, please can one of the admin help me if it is necessary? If not, we go ahead from there. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome. Just to put this in frame, Chibuike, we have 20 minutes, and if you require more time, of course, we will accord that to you. But yes.
All right. I can't be able to share my to put on my video, so we run there from there. Thank you. Welcome to this wonderful event. It's an honor to be here. Straight, we're going to be moving straight to the presentation. We're going to be looking at strategy on how to position your business for the 21st century market. It's really it's a serious issue that small businesses find it difficult to set up their business to suit this purpose. Strategy is like fighting a war, it's like going to bomb, the wrong place or doing the wrong thing in a war situation. And it has been the position of a lot of small businesses. You are fighting, but you don't know who you are fighting. You don't know the weapons you need to fight. You don't know how to fight. You don't know a whole lot of things to do in the battlefield. And that is the reason why, a lot of things are chaotic. We achieving the wrong result. We are getting, we're getting it all wrong. Their strategy defines the path to which business, which provides the direction of action to be taken by leaders of a business. It is the pathway. It is the pathway, and it determines the actions that you should take. It's not all the actions in a business that you should take as a small business. Now, our first speaker was talking about the big picture of African free trade and all that, but now we want to narrow down to that your own business. How do you make decisions that affect your business? Because it is these that determine where you go. Strategy is derived from a Byzantine Greek word known as strategos, which means general, or the art of a general. So you as a business person, no matter how small your business is, you should begin to consider yourself as a general. A general makes decision that leads to the victory or the defeat of the entire army. So that decision is very, very important. So begin to consider yourself as a general. Strategy is the process of creating a well-aligned business practice with the goal of occupying a valuable position in a competitive environment. Underline competitive environment. Underline competitive environment, because for every business you set up, there are direct or indirect competitors. There are people who are, substitute. They are not producing exactly what you're producing, but what they are producing can be used, in exchange of what you are producing. And there are direct competitors, people who are doing exactly the same thing you are doing. So it gives you the practice to position yourself and occupy that valuable position in that competitive environment. All right. If you don't get that right, you are going to be in trouble. Next slide. Strategy is a clear set of plans, actions, and goals that outlines how businesses will compete. It outlines how you are going to compete. Now you have understood that you are in a competitive environment. Now the next level is, how are you going to compete in this market with your product and services? If you said that, then we move to the next point. Every business rises or falls on strategy. Sit for 1 second and think about your business, where it is now, and where do you want it to go to, or where do you want it to be in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. It all depends on the strategy that you employ. Business strategic factors are factors that are critical to the success of an organization. Very, very critical. Don't take it lightly for anything. All right. Okay. Now, the question that you need to begin to ask yourself now, you can write them down as quickly as we take this session. What exactly do you want to achieve in your business? Now, what exactly do you want to achieve? Begin to think about it. Do you want to make your customers smile? Do you want to reduce, their wastages? Do you want to, make them more beautiful? Do you want to make them more smart? What do you want to achieve, and where do you want to go in this thing that you are achieving? Where do you want to go? Do you want to achieve a smart society? Do you want to, what Elon Musk is doing, creating electric cars? Do you want to reduce the use of fossil fuel? Where do you want to go in that your business? How do you want your customers to see you? Do you want them to see you in a different dimension than the way they are seeing you? It is your strategy that will position you to do that. How do you want them to see you, and how are they seeing you now? Now, these are possible lenses that customers could see you, or your clients could see you. Number one, they can see you as cheap and for the poor. It might be that you want to target the cheap and for the poor, affordable, and for the middle class. It is something that people can afford in their middle class position. Expensive and for the elite. Do you want to be seen as an expensive product, and for people who are, the high and mighty, like Apple is doing in the phone manufacturing industry? Faster and for people in a hurry. Do you want to make people who are in a hurry get your services or get your product and be in the move? Slow but full of quality. You don't want to be fast. You don't want to all these rush things. No, you want to calm down and build your product and your services, and it's going to be full of quality. Beautiful packaging for special people and special events. You don't care about packaging, you just carry it like that. Do you want to reduce all those cost on packaging and all that? High quality, low quality. How do you want them to see you? You have to get that in place. Strategy, 4 key questions. Now, these are questions in setting up your strategy you should be able to act. Number one, where do you want to compete? What products and services do you want to produce? What is the thing that you want to produce? What location do you want to compete in? You want to compete in your local country, in your local community, in your town, in your state? You want to compete in Africa? Where do you want to compete, and what are the products that you want to use to compete? What unique value do you bring to the market? You have to understand this as clear as the air is, and this is known as your value proposition. Our first speaker mentioned it. You need to understand your value proposition. What unique value? What is going to make you different from every other person in your market? Number 3, what resources and capabilities or skills will you utilize to deliver that value? Now, it's not enough to know that, okay, this is the value you're bringing, but of course, you should be able to know the skills, the resources, the capabilities that will enable you to deliver that value. All right. Number 4, how do you sustain that value? This is consistency and sustainability, and I thank God Mujidah is here to teach us on sustainability. But then in this dimension, how do you want to be consistent in your productivity that you are bringing to the market? Do you want to bring it today and tomorrow customers are looking for it and they can't find it? Do you want to, after 1 year you are no longer in business? Do you want it to be like that? You should be able to provide your sustainability system that will help you to be consistent in the market, and this is what drives your growth, because the more you keep producing, keep offering, the more you keep conquering more grounds, and the more your product becomes popular, and you keep growing. Okay, strategy creation. Now we want to create strategy. We want to find out how we can be able to do this thing. Number 1 thing you need to look at is your vision statement. Your vision statement is what you want the people experiencing your using your product to have as an experience after they have used your product. What do you want them to have as the feeling, as an experience? You need to understand that where you are now, where are you now, and where do you want to go? And now, after people have used your product and your service, you need to know how you want them to feel. How excited you want them to feel. How do you want them to feel in the experience that they are having? You need to be able to pen this down. For example, let's take Apple, for example. When you get an Apple product, perhaps a laptop or an iPhone or an iPad, how do you feel? That feeling that you get using an Apple is their vision. Is their vision. If you go to Apple's vision, you will see it. They create, they use their creativity to produce innovative gadget for people, smart gadget for people. All right, so you need to understand that. Number two, look at your mission statement. This is how you are going to get this your vision actualized. How you are going to get your vision actualized. But the next one is your core values. Your core values. What are the behaviors you expect should be consistent with people going to where your vision is? Now, you have created a vision. Now, you need to identify the behaviors that people going to that place are supposed to have. You need to create that. We don't have a whole lot of time. I would be very, very delighted, to share examples, a lot of examples, and, working examples on how these things are achieved. Now, let's look at SWOT analysis. I'm trying to meet the time. SWOT analysis. Now, let's look at strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat. We do this analysis for, for a lot of things, but I know some people have not actually done it for their business. Now, for strength and opportunities, they are positive, and weaknesses and threat, they are negative. While strength and weaknesses are internal, they are internal to your organization, while opportunities and threat are external. They are things you can't control. You can't control the government policies, you can't control the weather, you can't control, and a whole lot of natural phenomena that will affect your business. Now, on your strength, you look at your characteristics, the characteristics of your business, which gives it advantage over its competitors. The characteristics of your business, which gives it, you can't see my slides. Can you see my slides now, Pedro? Can somebody?
Yes, we can see your slides. I can see your slides.
Okay. Now, characteristics of a business which gives it advantage over its competitors. These are your strengths. Now, look at your weaknesses and characteristics which makes it disadvantageous relative to your competitors. Now, these are the place where your competitors are, leading. You don't have control over those ones. Now, your strengths are those you have that your competitors don't have. So you are at advantage, while in your weaknesses, your competitors are at advantage. Now, on your opportunities, you are looking at elements in your business, external environment. You remember I said they are external, that allows it to formulate and implement strategies to increase profitability. Now, for example, if population is increasing in your country, in your state, in your local community because of a university that was situated there, it is an opportunity for you, because the number of people who perhaps will be buying your small shops or your small bakery material products are increasing. So it's an opportunity for you. Now look at your threat, elements in the external environment that could endanger the integrity and profitability of your business. Now, if that university all of a sudden is moved out of that place, it is a threat to your business, because the population is going to reduce, and profitability is going to also reduce. All right. Now I want us to go very fast and look at these things. Now let's look at your strength. What do you do better than your competitors? Now, if you have a pen and you have a paper, you could take down these questions as fast as possible. What is it exactly that you do better than your competitors? You design better than them, you sell at a cheap price better than them, you sell faster better than them, you package better than them. These are things that you should note very, very clearly. What is the strongest reason why your present customers buy from you Ask your present customers one of the reasons why they buy from you. Do they buy from you because of relationship? Do they buy from you because the price is cheap for them? Do they buy the product because it is convenient enough for them? Why do they buy from you? Make that survey and get that information. What differentiates you from your competitors? What is the differentiating factor when people are using your product and the product of your competitors? How will they be able to differentiate your product from the product of your competitors? That is a strength for you. What are your core competencies? What skills, what abilities, what resources do you have in the production of your goods and services that are, specific to you, that are, your own property, that you can boast of and say, this is what we have? Now, turn over to your weaknesses. What resources are you missing or lacking in the production of your goods and services? There are skills that you need, but you don't have them, so you are just managing and doing that. It is a weakness to you. What do your competitors do much better than you? Do they sell cheaper? Do they sell faster? Their goods are more convenient. What do they do better than you? Where are your costs higher than your competitors in the production of your goods and services? Where are your costs higher than your competitors? Perhaps your competitors buy raw materials in a large quantity because of they buy cheaper from your suppliers, or because you buy smaller quantities, they hide the price for you because you are not buying as much as that. So know where your cost is higher than that of your competitors. Where is your weakest point with customers? Do you have problem relating with your customers? Do you have problem communicating with your customers, your bargaining power with your customers, your customer relationship, your reward system to your customers, and a whole lot of things? Where is your weakest point with your customers? Now let's look at opportunities. What changes and trends offer new and brighter future for your business? You should be able to identify the changes and trends that are offering brighter future for your business. It might be technology. Perhaps technology is increasing. For me, in our business at Soundmind Build Up, technology has helped us so much. As a matter of fact, during COVID, like the first speaker said, you should have the COVID mindset. COVID helped us to reach the countries where naturally we didn't know we could reach. We hosted a program, hosted 17 speakers from all over the world, and they came in on Zoom and they did the program, and we went live on Facebook and all that. So understand the trends that will give your business a bright future. What new or emerging niches or markets can you exploit, right? What are those places that you can begin to exploit to the benefit of your business? Be very, very intentional in finding these niches and markets that you can exploit. How can you innovate using new technology? How can you innovate using new technology? As a matter of fact, Bill Gates said, if your business is not online, you are definitely going to be out of business. So these new technologies that I imagine, you should be able to know how you're going to innovate your business using them. How can you innovate using new business model to meet changes in the market? Now, if you are charging on services and after sales services and all that, you should begin to find a way to hide your price on the product and see if you can be able to give an after sales service to your customers for free, though they have paid for it. Okay, I'm seeing 10 minutes left here. Okay, we're going to run. Okay, let's look at your trend. What are the negative trends that present the highest risk to your business? What are the negative trends that are presenting the highest risk for your business? Be able to have these things at at the tip of your fingers. Perhaps government is making a policy that will be endangering your business. Be able to find them early and know how you're going to fight against that, or know how you're going to position yourself in a place where your business will not collide with the government, and you you begin to suffer for it. What changes expose the weaknesses? You have weaknesses that you're trying to manage. What are the changes that will expose them and show us you don't have, the technical know-how to use the new technology to sell your business? What are competitors doing that are damaging your position? What are they doing that are damaging your position? If you are selling at at $5 and all of a sudden your competitor crashes their price to $3, it's going to make you look like you are not doing well to your customers, and they will begin to to revolt against that. When they begin to do that, they begin to go to your customers, to your competitors, and it will look like you've been lying to them. Although they won't understand that your cost of production is high, and that is why you are doing that. What factors could impact negatively how your customers buy or use your product and services? Perhaps there's a new product that is a substitute in the market, and they are using it now more than they are using your product. You should be able to understand those factors. Okay, we are rounding up now. I want us to cross organizational structure, and I will end where I'm going now. Please bear with me. Let's conclude this class. I have 10 minutes left. Now, I want us to look at your competitors. Who are they? Who are your competitors? If you have a pen and paper where you are now, you can write down, even if it is an abbreviation, you can write down your competitors. You can remember now, while even you are not thinking so much about them. What do they do better than you? Write it down. Don't shy away from that. Accept the fact that they do it better than you, and there's nothing you can do. So understand it, write it down. It will help you to make strategic decisions that will, hide you from that path. What do you do better than them? Understand what you do better than them. How big or small are they? Are they big organizations? Are they smaller organizations? How big or small are they? Because that will determine also how you're going to approach the whole stuff. How close or far are they in the game? Are they far? Are they starting up? Are they, beginning to get into the industry where you have been for a very long time? Are they close or are they ahead of you? So know where their position is. What's their market share in your industry? Is it 50%? Is it 70%? Do they control 95% and you're struggling with 5%? Do they have 5% and you are the big boy in the market? Know what their market share is. It will help you. Now, I want to conclude with business level strategy. There are two types of business level strategy that I want us to look at. And one is cost leadership, and then the other one is differentiation. Cost leadership and differentiation. In the course of my presentation, I've been able to make some references to them, but now we're going to look at them critically as it goes. Now, cost leadership, your business level strategy determines how the business positions itself differently from the competitors. A firm must decide whether it intends to perform activities differently or to perform different activities than rivals do. You must make that decision. Do you want to do a different thing, or do you want to do, different activities than they do? Do you want to do something different, or do you want to do the same thing but in a different way? Understand that very well. If they are producing a product, do you want to produce their product in a different way, or do you want to produce a different thing that would serve as an alternative product to what they are producing? Now let's look at cost leadership strategy. The cost leadership strategy is an integrated set of actions taken to produce goods or services with features that are acceptable to customers at the lowest cost relative to that of competitors. At the lowest cost. Now, that you produce it at the lowest cost is an indication that you are leading in the cost of production. You should be able to know the things that you are going to cut off As primary activities, your business must find out what to cut off from the business process to produce the cost for your customers, to reduce the cost for your customers. Now, if you are able to remove some excesses, in the whole production process, that you can be able to do away with and produce at a very small charge, it will help you to lead in the cost leadership. How businesses implement a cost leadership strategy: one, they consider rivalry with existing competitors. You have to know what the rivalry between your competitors are before you go into cost leadership strategy. Bargaining power of buyers. Do buyers have so much knowledge that they know all your business processes, that they are acquainted with it, that they bargain so low? So you begin to find a way to reduce charges to be able to sell to them at a very lowest rate. Or are they small? When customers know that they are small and you are producing at a very large, large quantity, if they know that they are small, they are going to, beat down the price of your product, and you will have nothing to do. It's either you sell to them or you take it home. It's either you sell to them or you take it home. When you get tired, you sell to them at their own price. Bargaining power of suppliers. Now, this as an example is when your suppliers are few and they know they are few. Perhaps they are only 2% in the entire supply market that you go to buy your product, your raw materials or something like that. If they know they are few, they have one person. If one person is selling, is supplying to you, and they know no other person can supply to you in that environment, they increase their price. And what do? You find other ways to reduce the cost. Potential entrants. You look at the potential entrants into your market, into your industry. Is it very cheap? Is it very easy for people to enter? If it's easy for people to enter, then you have to lead. You have to lead in cost to make sure you still have that customers that will patronize your business. Product substitute. I've talked about product substitute as long as we have started this session. You need to know the products that are substitute to your product or services. If you understand it, and if they are much, you should be able to differentiate so much that they buy your product other than the substitute. Now, differentiation strategy. The differentiation strategy is...
Sorry, Chibuike, you've gone over time, so I would ask you to please start rounding up. Thank you.
Okay, this is the last session of this presentation. Thank you for the extra time, though I don't know how many minutes it is, but I'm going to end it. Now, differentiation strategy is an integrated set of actions taken to produce goods or services at an acceptable cost that customers perceive as being different. Customers perceive as being different in ways that are important to them. Now, the clear example is buying an Apple product and buying other product. Let's use their phones for example. You can either buy an iPhone or you buy an Android phone. So Apple have been able to differentiate so much that if it is important to you to get an Apple phone, you get an Apple phone. And of course, they are selling at a premium price. Okay, why the cost strategy is it sells to a typical customer in an industry. Differentiators target customers for whom value is created, by the way the firm produce different from those produced and marketed by customers. Using the Apple as a case study also. If it is important to you, you use Apple. If it is not important, you just need a phone that can make a call to your friend in Ghana or make a call to your friend in Nigeria. You get an Android phone, perhaps a Nokia Touch that can help you do that. So you should be able to know that. Okay, like we have in the cost leadership, the same thing applies in differentiation strategy. Rivalry of existing competitors, bargaining power of buyers and bargaining power of suppliers, potential entrants, and product substitute. Thank you. I still remind your brother Chibuike from Sound My Build Up. You can reach us through the contact on the screen. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chibuike, for your presentation. It was really, really detailed. And I think a lot of our participants, especially those that are looking to start businesses, have gained a lot from your presentation. Because of time, I will just give space for 1 or 2 questions and treat the rest at the end. I also got to know that our first speaker, Mr. Afful, will soon be leaving. So I also want to give the opportunity for anyone who has questions on how small businesses can engage in the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement should raise their hands or write in the chat. I already see one question in the chat. 2 seconds. Yes, okay, so thank you, Petro, for saying that. So we hope our speakers so far, Mr. Afful and Mr. Chibuike, are open to being contacted so that those who couldn't ask questions or due to time constraints can reach out in person. But maybe one question I can ask while other participants can raise their hands or just unmute their mic and ask is, Mr. Chibuike, you mentioned cost leadership, leading production or leading in your business through cost. Will that sacrifice quality? This is of utmost importance because if you want to compete on the Africa scale, on the larger scale, your quality has to be up to scratch that you're able to export goods and people keep going back. So I wonder what you think about that. If you could give a couple of sentences on that, and then we hand over to Petro, who has his hand raised. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chubu, for that question. In cost leadership, you find out places in your production process where you can cut down costs. Places where you can cut down costs. There are definitely places where you perhaps cannot cut down costs. You may cut down costs on packaging, because in the beginning I said, what are the lenses, the possible lenses that your customers can see? If you are one that you don't want to care so much about packaging, businesses have a lot of budget on packaging alone. So you can try to reduce the budget on packaging and thereby reducing the cost, the price that you sell to your market. And also you can cut down on transportation. And how can you do that? Perhaps you might get your own transportation system so that you reduce the amount that you pay to those you have sourced to who have their own profit in it. Because if somebody is transporting for you, the cost of transportation is a different thing and their own profit is on it also. So if you have the capacity to get your own transportation system, you would be able to cut down on what you pay on top of that. So if you find a way to cut down costs, now cutting down costs doesn't touch your quality. The quality of the product is different from other stuff that that accompany the production process. Packaging is one of them, transportation cost is one of them, and all those things that you can find out. Just know your production process and know the excesses and where you can cut down on those, not actually on your quality. Of course, there are standards. For example, in Nigeria, we have Standard Organization of Nigeria that have to standardize your product. You have NAFDAC, you have all those standardization agencies that helps you. So if it doesn't meet the standard, you can't be able to sell. But there are places you can reduce. Perhaps you can reduce your workforce. You can reduce your marketing and all that. There are a lot of things. The online system can help you reduce the traditional marketing budget that you have, your radio, your TV, and all that. So you can cut costs on those areas to be able to sell at a very lesser cost or lesser price to your customers and clients. I don't know if that is okay.
Great answer. Thank you so much. I'll move to Petro now, who has his hand up.
Hi everyone. Wow, thank you very much for the presentation, Mr. Chibuike. I really love it, and It was so informative. I learned a lot. And my question is on the pricing, as we're talking about of business strategy and all that. Like I'm now like wondering. Well, I've encountered this challenge on when you're doing e-commerce, when you're putting your products on online. Like well, as you said, we have to look at our competitors' prices, like how they selling their products. So like when you put your products online, you find out that people from other countries, where I suppose the cost of production of like the same product is lower than yours. So like you find yourself challenged to like you unable to put a price that to set the price that is fair and reasonable to the customer. As you said, when they compare the two products, they say, well, this is for example a book, a 200 pages book, and this is also a 200 pages book. Well, when they compare these two products, this one is, for example, $8, but yours is like $15. Like they're just gonna go for the one that is cheaper. So like I want you to like explain to me like how do I overcome this challenge. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much, Pedro. You're speaking from the point of view of an author, as a writer that is bringing a book to the public. Okay, now this is what you need to understand. Who are you as an author? Because if you are presenting a product to the market at a higher price, at a premium price, it means that the differentiation should be well enough. Customers pay for differentiated products. If the products are the same and the prices are not the same, it's going to give them issues to select. So number one is the profile of the author, the experience of the author, what the book will help them do. You should be able to differentiate the book from every other book. How practicable is the book? What are the knowledge to be impacted? What with the knowledge to be impacted help them to do? So when you are able to sit down and get these things penned down, these are your unique selling proposition. So you are going to use it against every other competitor in that market. So by the time you say this person have perhaps 15-20 years experience in this industry, this person have worked with this industry, with this company, with this company, with this company, this person with this knowledge, he has been able to grow his business from $100 to $1 million and to $10 million. This person have been able to use these systems that I'm trying to teach you in this book to come out from poverty to riches. This person have grown from a gateman to a senior manager in a corporation. So those are the things that the customers want to hear. What will this product help me to do? By the time it is so clear and so large in their mind, they are going to go for it, no matter how high the cost is. For example, let's use Apple and every other Android phone to do the analysis. Now, an Apple phone is not less than, in my country, 300,000 and above, and every other Android phone is less than a 50,000, or maybe not too high than a 50,000 naira. Now, what is the issue? Why are people looking for the iPhone other than the Android? Now, you look at the personality that it creates. Now, this is where the brand comes in, the brand of the product. Now, you as an author, what is your brand in the market? You should be able to do your brand analysis. Now, the brand is so important that if you have an iPhone, an Apple material with you, you are graded high. And number two is the cost of it. So they see that if you are using an iPhone, so you have been able to produce 700,000 or 500,000 to get an iPhone, so you are respected. Now, the workability, the things that the gadget helps you to do. So these are the things you should, put into consideration before you get to your market. Your competencies, your unique selling proposition are very important if you want to sell at a premium price.
Thank you so much, Chibuike. I can see from the chat that Petra is quite satisfied with your answers, and I think it has been helpful as well for other participants who are beginning their journey as entrepreneurs to get some insight into unique selling point, unique selling proposition, and differentiation. Thank you so much. We have two questions for Mr. Afful from Joe. The first is, at what point will concessions or slashing import tariffs kick in for different countries? And the second question is, how can small businesses take advantage of the AfCFTA? Mr. Afful, are you on the line? In that case, until we can get Mr. Afful on the line, we'll be moving on to the third speaker. And I hope that when Mr. Afful comes back, he can answer his questions. If not, he shared his email in the chat, and we will be forwarding questions to him for answers later. So thank you so much, Chibuike, for that presentation. I hope that you've been able to get some interesting insights from it. We're moving on to a third speaker now. A third speaker is Mujidah Ajibola, someone who I know personally. She is a sustainability researcher and an educator based in Abuja, Nigeria. She works with schools, businesses, and communities to integrate environmental responsiveness and social inclusion in her activities. She is the founder of Sustainability Hub Nigeria, a social enterprise committed to teaching, inspiring, and leading people and organizations in developing skills, attitudes, and knowledge necessary to transition to sustainable practices. As we think about the context in which we are today, and the context of trying to make our businesses as small and medium-sized enterprises sustainable, we welcome Mujidah to the lectern. Over to you, Mujidah.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Please confirm you can hear me.
Mujidah, we can hear you, but it's very, very unclear. It's muffled. Mujidah, if you could log out and try logging in with your mic again. There's a lot of background noise and static in your audio. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. While we wait for Mujidah to reconnect, maybe we can move on to Joe, your presentation on Voice1Africa. Mujidah, just send me a private message on the Zoom when you've logged in and logged out and you've tried your microphone and it works. So in the interest of time, we will move on to the fourth speaker, Mr. Joe Quarcoo, who is a research practitioner with a passion for Africa in cities and in youth. He has 12 years of experience in academia, marketing, communication, and urban planning. Joseph is the founder of Nkoso Initiative and visionary of Voice1Africa, a self-starter with exceptional interpersonal skills, a people person. Joe is a Pan-Africanist and a social justice advocate. He is also a member of the Ghana Urbanization think tank, GIP. So without further ado, Joseph, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you all can hear me. So we're going to look at Voice1Africa and how it creates, or it gives us the opportunity to get into transnational businesses. Yeah, so this is going to be the outline of the presentation, just a little overview about Voice1Africa, and then opportunities, and then call to action. All right, so Voice1Africa is a non-profit organization, and we are here to empower African youth. We're here to empower African youth, regardless of their location, that's either their geographical location or socioeconomic location, to realize their potential and to demand accountable governance, be it urban governance, political governance, economic governance, and so forth. Also, Voice1Africa is a grassroots organization. We operate at the community level through community clubs and then community groups and school clubs, right? And we also educate and advocate for youth involvement in building the Africa we want. At the moment, we have more than 18 countries connected in Voice1Africa, and the network keeps growing. So let's look at some basic facts. The percentage of African population under 25 years, as our first speaker spoke, it's over 70%. By 2030, this is going to be 1.3 billion youth. There's going to be 1.3 billion youth in Africa. And this is under 25. So if we are even to take it to 35, you can imagine the numbers we are talking about. What does this mean? What does it present to us? It's a strategic positioning for Africa. Being the world's largest human resource capital, like we have this huge youth demographic clustered in one geographical location. And so the idea or the issue about being able to harness this demographic dividend is another subject to talk about, which I believe Voice1Africa and other NGOs and even governments are thinking through. This huge demographic also presents us with some challenges and some hurdles to cross. We know there's joblessness. Currently, we know that about 60% of the youth are unemployed, and there are no jobs to absorb these numbers. And generally, there's a lack of confidence in African youth. There's also a lack of necessary skills because our educational system is kind of training people not for the kind of economy that we have. There's a disjuncture between what is required, the skills that are required in the educational system that's been run in our continent. And so we also realize that there's a lack of knowledge on potential jobs and career paths. So the youth are caught in the middle. And so there's a sense of hopelessness and crime. And recently, what we come just to cite an example of what happened in South Africa, in Joburg and in KZN recently, with the looting and the shops and stuff like that. This all these are ways of like that some of the vapor or some of the ways that the youth are showing the frustration and the fact that they are hopeless, you know. And so we need to find our ways of overcoming this hurdle as a continent and as youth. And that's one of the reasons that Voice1Africa is here. So who is youth? When we talk about youth, how do we define who the youth is? Basically, it's between 14 and 20 years, but the African Youth Charter specifies 15 to 35 years. And so we, Voice1Africa, we define youth as being 15 to 35 years. This is the vision of Voice1Africa. A knowledgeable and confident African youth committed to building a strong, a united, and a progressive Africa. So this is an Africa that has an equal voice on the global platform. An Africa where dreams come alive for its people, not for foreigners, but for its people, the youth. And we, Voice1Africa, are here to contribute to the establishment of the United States of Africa with abundant opportunities and proud citizens within our generation and beyond. What's the mission of Voice1Africa? Is to empower youth by opening up conversations and exploring the potential of art, media, and culture. Like what we are doing now is part of the mission of Voice1Africa, to generate an active youth involvement in the direction and the growth of the continent through dynamic advocacy and civic education, capacity building, and generally creating opportunities for conversation. So what's the call to action? What's expected of us? There's a need for mentoring. As I mentioned, by 2030, 1.3 billion people will be here. Africa is the youngest continent. Averagely, the average age of our continent is 19 years, 19.7 years, you know. So there's a need for mentoring. And we are the ones who can help. Like those of us who are privileged, those of us who are on this platform, we are part of those who can help. And even though a number of us here need jobs, and we are still in this space of looking for jobs and positioning ourselves in the career market, but we have some exposure, we have experience, we have knowledge, we have networks. And so we are not starting from zero. There is something that we have to offer. And Voice1Africa creates opportunities for training and for mentoring. So now let's look at the opportunities that we have for transnational businesses. Thinking borderless. I mean, when our brother Afful spoke concerning the AfCFTA, we've come to know that, like, we've been conditioned to think within the scope of our countries. So a lot of people think within Ghana, I'm a Ghanaian, South African, I'm that, and we kind of focus within this space. So we are limited. So I was glad when he mentioned that the AfCFTA is not only talking about the exchange of goods, but also services. So now we have to think borderless. And thinking borderless means that to attain the Africa we want, we need to deconstruct nationalism and project Pan-Africanism, you know, to uphold the collective in contrast to the individual. In the case of Voice1Africa, we need to now look at going into business partnerships and consortiums instead of sole proprietorships, right? So this is what we have. Voice1Africa has given us the opportunity for a rich and diverse network, and also there are trainings like this one and others that are going to come from the minds, from West African Civil Society Institute, and from all the other partners that Voice1Africa has. So if then there's this African adage that says that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, we go together. And we know that we want to go far, so then we have to move together. So now let's look at some of these. So there's a consortium. A consortium is a group of people or organizations that come together to bid for contracts. And Voice1Africa has presented us with the opportunities to create consortiums. So for example, we can have the Language Bureau. The Language Bureau can be a one-stop shop for language solutions, where we have various African languages in Voice1Africa. There's Arabic, those from Northern Africa. We have English, French, Chinese, Spanish, and all. So then if we have a Language Bureau, we can now go out and look for contracts where we are going into translations, we are going to transcriptions, where we assign maybe an organization needs an interpreter. We assign someone from Voice1Africa to this organization. And these are ways of creating jobs for people, and also, making income and making impact at the same time. So the Language Bureau is one of the ways by which Voice1Africa presents opportunities. And as already indicated, we need to work together for these to work. We need to, collectivity is what's needed for these opportunities to be attained. We also have to look at something like a music and an art academy, where we nurture artistic skills and of children and youth. Africa is blessed with a lot of talent. And I was speaking to someone recently in South Africa, just talking about how South Africans are very artistic, and dancing is one thing that is very common in South Africa. It's a form of communication. And so we have all these here. So is there a way that Voice1Africa can come together, and then we have the music and the art academy and virtual is mainstream now. So everything, we have the virtual lens, and we also have the physical, right? So we can have this virtual platform, but then we have representation in each country. So there's this music and art academy, it's virtual, we recruit people, they pay, and they are paying for the services, but then we have people in different countries that are meeting physically. And also when there's a need for virtual trainings, there are resources, we are drawing on resources from members from across different countries. And also a record label. Voice1Africa has music producers in the team. We have lots of musicians, diverse kinds, those into classical, folk, gospel, all kinds of music. And so we discover new talents. Because we're a grassroots organization, we have presence in the communities. So we discover new talents in these communities, the youth, and we work with existing producers and promoters in all our communities. And then we can actually bring out these young talent. And this is also a way of pushing and creating opportunities and also income. Then we also have integrated marketing, communications, and IT solutions, like website and app development, graphic design and printing. All the flyers that we have as Voice1Africa, our website that is being developed, these are things that are done by members of Voice1Africa. And there are lots of organizations in the age of digital. This is the business now. And so if we come together and form this consortium, then what we have is a very broad and a rich, a great, very diverse entity that sources business, not only in a particular country, but across the continent and beyond. And I think this is something we should also look at. And then there's also photography and media, travel photography and documentaries. We showcase Africa. We showcase places, we showcase food, architecture, culture, the everyday life of African people, the youth, the everyday life. And we may travel, but we can also achieve a diverse portfolio without necessarily traveling. So we can achieve this by having the team or the consortium of photographers and those who are working in this space, where if I were supposed to be back and I'm currently in Cape Town, I'll be taking shots, I'll be going into the areas and doing so in Cape Town. The one who is in Zambia is doing same, the one who is in Egypt is doing same. And then we are achieving this, but we are achieving something great because we are working together, but in separate locations. And also journalism and social commentating, hosting a show or becoming a host of a particular program. Example, Voice1Africa, we have the period team, and we've been having conversations on menstruation. This is a classic example. And there could be several shows or several programs on health, on cities, on youth, on entrepreneurship, on mental health, applied science in Africa, and all this. So this creates an opportunity. You don't need to be on TV to be a journalist or to be on TV to be a news anchor or whatever. This is the platform. And with Voice1Africa, you are appearing before the whole continent and beyond. You are not appearing only to Zambia or to Zimbabwe so you are appearing to the entire continent. And this is a great platform, and it gives you the opportunity, or gives us the opportunity to also grow in these skills and talents that we have. All right, so then the other one is the educational or career and travel consultant. Like Chibuike is doing. Chibuike is a business consultant. We can also have educational consultants, career consultants, travel consultants. So this consultancy or this consortium is going to help others secure admission into tertiary education. A couple of us here have had several opportunities to travel, to go to schools, to secure scholarships. We know the terms, you know how to fill the forms, you know what to say, so we give guidance to these younger ones, and then we help them. It's a consultancy service. They pay a little price for it, but then you create opportunities. Also for travel packages, we know our countries better than any other. If we come together and create a Pan-African travel consortium where we have packages, somebody can travel throughout the continent, we have hotel arrangements and all that. It's going to be awesome, right? We have book publications. Currently, Voice1Africa is working on the anthology project, our first book publication, which is a collection of poems and other writings from across the continent. This is beautiful. So these are opportunities to be an author by just being part of a group. And this collection is a classic and a diverse collection. We can also have the think tanks and the research jobs where we bid for research contracts. I'm a human geographer, so there are lots of jobs out there for urban planners and for cities and stuff like that. So we just move into these spaces and we work with other NGOs, we work with governments, we come up with policy guidelines. These are opportunities for jobs right here in Voice1Africa. So these are things we can take advantage of. And I like it when Mr. Afful mentioned the agribusiness, because agribusiness is something that we also can take advantage of. So on my screen now is a colleague from the Yali called Thrifting, Andrea Buska, who is into eye of the brain, the production of maggot for aquaculture and for poultry and stuff like that. And it's a beautiful business. And our colleague also from Sierra Leone, Sam, spoke about how in Sierra Leone there are lots of lands, arable lands, rich lands that are selling at low prices, and the government is also giving a lot of concessions. The government wants people to move into agriculture, so there are opportunities in Sierra Leone, and it's inviting us as members. We can form a group or a partnership that can go into agribusiness. We are drawing on not just on the intellectual resources, but also on the financial resources, because when we come together, we're able to form a strong team. So Abuska is in Ghana, Andrew is in Ghana, but his business can have leverages, or it can have representation in several other African countries. And he's willing to partner and he's willing to explore opportunities of expansion. So this is a good business. And right here in Cape Town, we have Shine Black, which is a beauty and a cosmetic business, which is basically dealing in share-based products. hair and skin products. So our share and our skin product is coming from Ghana, from a rural location in northern Ghana. But then it's finding its way to Cape Town, where it's being packaged into these branded skin and hair products that's on the market. And so in the same vein, Shine Black can also expand its in terms of markets to other African countries, to Tanzania, to Malawi, and all that. So these are opportunities that are there. I know in the Gambia, one of our members is also into skin and hair care products. So there can be some form of partnership and all that, which is why I was also interested in the African Continental Free Trade Area, where about the questions I asked, when these concessions, ordinary concessions will kick in, because when you are transporting this share from Ghana, it's either you take it by sea or by air, because the roads is terrible. I don't know, but yeah, so maybe Mr. Afful can help us to know, because it's not easy transporting stuff across the continent from Ghana to South Africa. So why do we need to act now? I'm rounding up now. True independence lies in youth power, not in politicians. And we are looking at if we want a progressive Africa, first, Africa must be a strong entity. And for Africa to be strong, Africa must be united. And if our politicians are doing so at the upper level with all the policies, what can we do at our level? At our level, we have to work from the bottom up by integrating Africa. And that's why Voice1Africa is here. Right? That's why Voice1Africa is here. And so the liberation of Africa lies in our unity. At the moment, we are in the 21st century. We have the opportunity of technology, social media, and all that. We have the numbers. Africa has the largest youth cluster, the youngest continent, and then we have you and I who are willing and are willing to commit time and effort to have or to get that Africa that we desire, that Africa with opportunities. So what's the next step? Which of these opportunities appeal to you and why? And we would like you to share with us. We are taking it. We are going right to action. So you can share with us in an email your name and your country, which opportunities appeal to you and why, and your competencies, your skills. You attach a CV, and then when would you like to start discussing the opportunity, so that we get to start in these consortiums and then get the opportunities becoming tangible, which is why we are here. So thank you very much. We're on social media. Connect with us. It's at Voice1Africa, at Voice1Africa. So, Madame Ase, thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much, Joe, for showing us how we can engage with Voice1Africa and the next step we can take. I think this was really helpful for everyone to get an insight into what Voice1Africa does and how they can contribute. And it's about partnership across borders, not just doing something in your own community or in your own country. I would just like to ask you if you could, on the page for call for action, if you could copy that and paste into the chat, so that since your slide is not displayed, people who want to send their emails can copy that and engage later if they don't want to do that right now.
Thank you.
I would allow time for one question, but I would like to ask Mujidah, could you try your microphone again so that we can see if it's working? But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to raise your hand. Yes, Mujidah, we can hear you. Yes, but after the questions, yes, we can go ahead with your presentation. We can hear you clearly, and I'll be sharing your slides in a bit. But if there are any questions for Joseph on Voice for Africa and how to engage, please, now is the time to do so. Thank you. Okay, maybe just one question for Joseph is, as Mr. Afful from the AfCFTA mentioned, there are different types of businesses. There's the product businesses that you presented to, and there's also services. Now, for services like language, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's easier to take care of logistics with regards, providing services across borders. But for products, this is more difficult. Is there a way that Voice for Africa is making like products, like the logistics of products a bit easier with transportation, etc.? And secondly, what is the timeline for sending an email and getting started with the business of the different consortiums? What deadline do you give for people to submit their CVs and their profiles? Just for an example, if there are 10 people who speak Chinese or Arabic, how do you form those consortiums around them? How do you search for contracts? How will this work in practical sense? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Hugo. So let's start with the first one, the transportation for product tangibility. So, I mean, fortunately, we are scattered across the continent. So we are, for example, to bring in the share butter that we're bringing to Cape Town, I sent out messages to lots of people in Nigeria, to Cameroon, to Tanzania, Malawi, yeah. And so I know that if we can, there's a buzz from Nigeria to Cameroon, but of course, because of the unrest in Cameroon, it's pretty dangerous. But then we can transport it. We can easily transport stuff from Ghana or from Nigeria all the way to South Africa. I mean, there's a straight bus from Malawi to South Africa, to Joburg. So you just need to find a way of getting the stuff to either Tanzania or to Malawi, and that's it. So in terms of transportation of our products, I mean, if you're going by air, it's available, but it's expensive, the freight. So that's there. So it's either through sea or by land vehicles. I mean, for now, for our products, we've established, for example, with the share, we've established contacts with people in Malawi. And so we just send it by bus to Malawi for it to be sold there as well. And I think it will be the same. But with the timelines and for the tangibility of these consortiums, of course, there's going to be a legal base, right? So the legal team of Voice1Africa will come up with the terms and conditions and all that. But we are giving all of us, at least to the end of this month, for us, those who are interested in these consortiums, any of those consortiums, to send out their CVs and the requested information. And when we have it, there will be a team that will put all this together, and then there'll be a conversation around it and how it will be possible. We don't have answers to all of this. These are still in the process. So as we dialogue and we have a conversation, we'll come up with the best possible alternatives and avenues.
Thank you so much, Joe. I think there's a lot that's going on in the background, and everything is a work in progress, and we count on the Voice1Africa community to really push this and get engaged, because if you don't get engaged, nothing changes. But thank you so much for that presentation. For anyone else who has questions, raise your hand or pop it in the chat for now. I think we have to get a move on to Mujidah's presentation, and then we can treat your question after Mujidah's presentation. So we now have a sustainability expert, Mujidah, back with us. Thank you for clearing up your sound, and I hand the virtual mic over to you. Mujidah.
Okay, thank you very much. So quickly to the topic of sustainability, a new business advantage. And we are going to start this by explaining what the term sustainability actually means. Sustainability is at the nexus of economic growth, environmental management, and social inclusion. This can also be paraphrased as profit, planet, and people, and it ensures that we consider the three variables in everything we do, both at the household and business levels. So that means even in purchasing a commodity, probably you want to buy a kind of milk, you think about the environmental implications, such as the effect of the production or consumption of such a commodity, the effect it has on the environment, climate change, and the overall health of the planet, as regards how it affects us, animals and plants and all of that. You also look at the social aspects of producing or consuming such a commodity. Things such as whether or not children were exploited in the production of such a commodity, and a lot of other things that we will see as we progress. Linked to this sustainability is sustainable development, which has been globally defined as the ability of the current generation to meet their own needs without jeopardizing the ability of future generations to meet their own needs too. While these terms are very, like, they are closely related and they are sometimes used interchangeably, it's worthy to note that sustainability is the actual concept, and that is the goal that everybody strives to achieve, while sustainable development is a framework that has been designed by global leaders for countries to achieve sustainability. So please, let's not see sustainability as a term or concept that has year 2030 as its expiry date. Not even sustainable development will stop existing after 2030. The SDG has basically made sustainability actionable for individuals, businesses, and countries across the world. It has broken down the word sustainability and the whole myriad of global challenges we are facing. It has broken them down into 17 goals, which I call pathways for people to take action. So right now, it's easier for somebody to choose to take action on poverty eradication, personal and gender equalities, reducing inequalities, and fighting climate change. You know, all of these things, by the time everybody does a bit in their own sphere of influence, we all come together and we achieve the solution to the global issues we are facing as one. So, talking about bringing sustainability into business, this has been on the front burner in recent times because of the huge contribution of the private sector to national and global development. It's no news that the private sector in all countries actually drives national growth, and that's why I really appreciate Chibuike's session. And there are two schools of thought on sustainability. One school sees the environment as the most important part of the three elements of sustainability. That's what is displayed in the first picture here. We call it the nested connectivity model, where we feel, okay, the business and the society all exist within the balanced ecosystem, and without the balanced ecosystem, we can't have the economy because we need materials to make our goods from, not of having a peaceful and just society. And that school of thought prioritizes the environment over the society and the economy. On the other hand, the other business model that has the Venn diagram sees the three core areas as the same, and it posits that sustainability is achieved at the nexus of the three. Right, but either way, both models still agree that economic growth, environmental management, and social inclusion are key things we need to integrate in business for quality growth. By the term quality growth, we do not just mean growth in terms of numbers. We don't mean growth in terms of GDP now. We're talking about growth that considers human capital, that considers welfare of people and the host community where the business thrives, as well as growth that considers the conservation of natural resources. So, getting down to sustainability in business, this can take two different forms. We can choose to integrate sustainability into general business operations, and we can actually run an eco-friendly business. Not all businesses will be primarily eco-friendly businesses. So they are usually more general businesses than core eco-friendly businesses. But these general businesses too, as they are, they can integrate sustainability into them, because at the end of the day, integrating sustainability into business benefits even the shareholders, because most of the time we tend to rate the shareholders in economics as the sole aim of getting into business, because we want to give them profit at the end of the day, which is very fine. But we are now beginning to see that embracing sustainability is even one of the things that drive more profit for businesses. And looking at this, it means that we are going to factor in three major indicators in integrating sustainability into general business operations. These three major indicators are usually called ESG. ESG, short for environmental, social, and governance considerations. You would realize that the economic aspect is not mentioned here because the process of profitability is not a new one to everybody, as Chibuike has also highlighted in some parts of his presentation. In fact, Conventional profitability works at the expense of the environment and society, and that is what we are trying to change right now. We are trying to change the narrative. So let me quickly pick them one after the other. The environmental aspect of business relates to transitioning to low carbon operations with things such as waste management. Joe mentioned somebody in Ghana, EcoFeed, that was using animal waste and has a way of using it for to make sustainable products. That is an example rather of proper waste, one of the waste management measures we can take, instead of allowing these things rot and constitute health challenges to the environment. We can pick these things up and make other things from them. Another thing is for us to embrace the 3 R's. These are very common. We call them reduce, reuse, and recycle. You reduce your consumption, and when you're done, you don't just use a particular commodity or a product once and then think, oh, that's all for the product. When you are done, you think about what other things can be done with that particular product you are trying to throw away, because at the end of the day, there is no away. When you say you're throwing something away, you are just pushing the problem forward. You're taking it away from where you are to another destination where it still becomes a problem. So other things that are very actionable for us as individuals, even in our small businesses and our private lives, include using less paper. Papers are made from trees, and the more paper we use, the more trees that would be cut. And there are a lot of advantages of trees to our existence, whether we understand it or not. Trees are very, very integral to human existence. Let's not go too deeply into that. Yeah, and we'll continue by also looking at using renewable energy instead of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels include the fuels gotten from crude oil. We have a lot of carbon that are emitted into the atmosphere, and it's very, very dangerous to human health. And another way we can integrate these into our business is trying to switch into solar power or windmills to power our businesses. And we can also reduce staff travel, because we know that one of the sectors that contribute hugely to climate change is the transport business. So when people travel, they use products that are usually based on fossil fuels. So by the time we reduce our staff travel, we play our own quota in reducing the amount of fuel that is used, and ultimately the amount of carbon emissions we have. For the social consideration, we talk about the human beings who come in contact.
Chibu, I think we lost Mujidah. Okay, Mujidah is back. Awesome. Mujidah, can you unmute yourself and try again if your network is better?
Yeah,
awesome, awesome.
So whether or not we know it, people in our host communities are very, very integral to the growth of our businesses. And while the governance consideration talks about corporate governance, we also have other things like structure of the business, and this is where a lot of entrepreneurs get it wrong. Financial accountability, nepotism, vendor management, and all that. For instance, right now there are companies where the finances of that business are not separate from that of the owner. Sometimes directors come to borrow indiscriminately from the business account, and you hear things like, hey, accountant, can I have 100,000 naira from there? And the accountant, because he believes that the director or the founder is at the helm of the affairs, he cannot even advise constructively. He just says, okay, sir, okay, ma. And then the person doles out business cash for the director's private use without going through due process. These kinds of things kill businesses. Another thing is nepotism. And all these things have huge potentials of making a business succeed or fail. And as such, investors and stakeholders are now scrutinizing these indicators before investing in businesses. So as we grow our businesses, whether we have small businesses or we have medium scale businesses, we should integrate this thing, no matter how small you are, from the point you are conceiving the business idea. Think of integrating these structures in your business, because you never can tell when that business opportunity will come, when you have that funding opportunity and they will choose your business, especially if you have put in so much work into growing the business. But when it comes to the structure, they ask for some document, they ask for your business certificate of registration, they ask for your audited accounts and all of that. And then these things start to surface like a monster. And then you're like, oh my God, after all the effort, those people are not appreciating me. Not that they are not appreciating your efforts, but they are only trying to ensure that you are spending money in a proper manner. So the other part of this is that we can explore setting up eco-friendly or what is called green businesses. These are businesses that are primarily in the environmental and social sectors. This can be in the form of manufacturing eco-friendly products, teaching eco-friendly actions in formal and non-formal education, or providing advisory services for other companies that are in the mainstream business. So what happens is that some businesses are majorly focused on the environment and they extend their services to other companies that are not majorly focused on the environment. Some of these include Planet 3R. It's an initiative in Nigeria led by Adejoke Lasisi, a Nigerian who produces shoes, school bags, and head ties from plastic waste, essentially pure water sachets. So what we have in Nigeria is water in nylon, and then which you can drink on the go. So what she does is to, and this has it has cost us about a lot of plastic waste. It has really impacted our plastic waste every day, because it is estimated that we use about 60 million sachets of pure water in Nigeria every day, like every day. And this should not be a surprise, because we are more than 200 million. And the figure that I just quoted is about less than a third of our population. So you can see what we are dealing with looking at pure water alone. So Adejoke has started producing school bags and shoes from this pure water sachet by stringing these things into a loom, like you're weaving clothes, and weaving them using the normal local weaving method, because our mother is a weaver. So she learned weaving from her mother, and she just integrated waste management into weaving, which is a very good one. Another example is for us at the Sustainability Hub, where we engage in research, education, and training to support other entities to practice sustainability. Solar Sisters is another green business that sells solar-powered lamps instead of people using kerosene lamps or petrol-powered generators. So these ways, we reduce the quantity of fossil fuel that people use every day, which also increases their health because it reduces people's exposure to air pollution. A lot of these businesses also integrate social concerns by providing their services to underserved people. For instance, solar lamps can be sold at discounted rates or outrightly distributed to support students in low-income communities. Plastic recycling is a whole value chain on its own, from collection to aggregation, recycling, and sales. Finally, other examples include waste-to-energy solutions, biogas, composting, organic agriculture, and a lot of regenerative practices. Another one is sustainable fashion, which ensures that as much as we are growing, we are consciously growing. Because at the end of the day, if we not grow consciously, the negative effects of our unconscious or indiscriminate growth will be what will pull down that growth that we have worked all years to achieve. So sustainability is something that I think everybody should look at integrating in their personal and business lives especially, and we can not underestimate the advantages we stand to gain from it. Thank you.
I mean, we've ended with a kind of a mic drop moment on, summarizing everything we've been talking about, but also having in mind environmental sustainability and stability across the board, across businesses. Thank you so much, Mujidah. This has been A really enriching presentation. The only thing I would say is I wanted more. I've heard, ESG is an evolving term that a lot of companies are starting to take into consideration, and there's still a lot to develop about including ESG measures into businesses. I think that as big companies struggle to integrate these, even as small companies now, we can start thinking of this so that it doesn't become a problem when we get bigger. Okay, guys, you've heard it from Mujidah. Are there any questions? Because this was a really full and really interesting presentation. Yes, Petro, go ahead.
Yes, Mujidah. Wow, that was a great presentation. Thank you very much. Yeah, so like my question is, now that we understand like how crucial and how important sustainable development is to us as African people and of this generation and even the future, as you say that while sustainability also looks at the future generations and yes, the environment that we have to protect, and also inviting us to like to invest in this in the green business. Yeah, so my question is how is the environment of business in this like in the green business, like how much support do businesses, small businesses that call themselves green business get from both the governments or other bigger organizations that already exist? Yeah, because while you invite us to invest in this business, but then if there's no enough support, if this business is not profitable to us, wow, there is that fear of like, wow, why should we invest in this if we don't get money? Because well, when you do business, you have a business mind and you profit driven, or though we don't have to like be profit driven when we're doing the green business, but the idea is there is to like make money and also sustain yourself. So like, how do you answer that question? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Petro. You have mentioned something very, very profound, and it's usually a source of concern for people. I would like to tell you that green business is profitable. The first thing is this: right now, the world is shifting. There's a shift that is going on. People, from investors to consumers, they are beginning to be more conscious of the environment. They're beginning to be more conscious of what goes into the commodities that they consume. This is not just limited to food. The very common examples we have is people looking at eating organic food, people looking at growing their own food locally to be sure that they minimize or they can manage the quantity of chemicals that go into the food in terms of fertilizers, pesticides, and all of that. That tells you that there is a wave that is coming. And right now, there is so much that goes into green business. There are a lot of funds that, in terms of global investments, that go into green businesses. We have green funds, financial instruments, there are bonds, and there are people that are really ready to invest in it. A very good example is Elon Musk. You know, recently he came up with this invention of an electric car. And what did we see happen to his business in about 2 weeks? He became the richest man in the world because people invested massively in that. That tells you that people are already thinking in their minds. People already want this shift, but they're only waiting for the right businesses. Another person, like I mentioned earlier, is this lady in Nigeria that makes shoes from pure water sachets. She won in 2020. She won the National MSME Award. She got a car and she got funding for her business, and that really propelled her business. And right now, even on LinkedIn, she's there selling her business to the world. You may not know how much of this happens because she won't come and show you a statement of account or something. But then I can tell you that green businesses are profitable. Personally, I run the sustainability hub, and as much as we don't even have physical products, we do soft things like training, advocacy, and advisory services. I know that we are making profit, and I've been part of 2 global accelerators that have funded us. One is restricted, they told us what to do with the fund. The other one was just unrestricted, just ensure that the fund is going towards your business. So these are funds that can help people to grow. And in terms of sales, so people are beginning to look after their health. People are beginning to say, oh, we don't want to die young, we don't want to continue inhaling carbon, so we are looking at buying solar powered lamps instead of moving away, and that means we are moving away from fossil fuels. So when that demand naturally increases, what happens? Your business also grows because you make more profit. So yes, I can confidently tell you that green business is profitable, and especially because it really does not have so many players right now. So the few people in green business are cashing out, trust me. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, you did. Wow, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mujidah. I also have a question. If there are no other questions, I have a question that I face in my industry, which is the energy sector. Now, in the energy sector and the extractive sector is one of the most polluting in the world, and this is a question that a lot of businesses are now asking. So the issue of I like the fact that you started with, sustainability as activity, and mention profit, planet, people. And for us in our work, we use 3 E's. So economy, ecology, and equity, or economy, environment, and energy, and how these can work together. But I just wanted to ask you, if you are for companies that pollute. So if we're talking on a small scale, where a household is planning to shift from buying a generator, for example, to switching to solar panels, that helps a lot. But if we really want to reduce carbon dioxide emissions in the long term, we have to target big companies that are polluting a lot. Target companies that are like the automobile industry, where gazillions of fossil fuels are consumed. We have to target companies that actually produce fossil fuels, like countries like Shell, BP, Exxon, etc. So my question is this, and this is a question that countries face, but companies also face. In situations where the bottom line or the profits of some companies is linked to pollution, how do they switch up their business models? I'm just going to use an example of Nigeria, for example, where the economy, or 75% of the GDP, is based on oil extraction and production and extraction. If you tell Nigeria to stop producing and keep the oil in the ground, they wouldn't do that because that's their bread and butter. How do you encourage a transition towards a green economy with stranded assets in question?
Okay, can I go ahead?
Yes.
Please do.
Okay, thank you very much. I like that you asked that question because it is a very practical one and one that we are actually facing. Like, we know this is real. So, in terms of companies transitioning, especially for companies that are majorly fossil fuel companies, and let me start with the companies. We have seen that it will take a lot of wherewithal for companies, because that's where they make their money from. A lot of people are employees of these companies, and a lot of countries are actually gaining from the existence of these companies. But then, because they are seeing that there's a lot of backlash now going into companies that are fossil fuel based, we have an example of a company like Total that is now looking at Total Energy, and Total is now rebranding, like we have seen in the last 3-4 weeks. Total has rebranded and now they are called Total Energy, and because of that, they are trying to tell us that they are no longer Total that is just fixed on fossil fuels, but they are investing massively in solar power. So I think it's all in the communication. We need to let people understand that we are not sending you out of business. We are only saying that, can you transition? Can you, like, adaptability is a core part of human existence and also business sustainability. So we are saying, can you just pivot from using fossil fuels to generate that same energy into using cleaner sources of energy. So we're not sending them away, we're not sending them out of the energy ecosystem. We're only asking them to change their source of raw material. And I think that with more advocacy, with more investment in green energy, they would see a need for this. I was very happy and excited the day I saw Total Energy rebrand and I read the whole thing behind it. I know ExxonMobil too is looking into that direction, although it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen all of a sudden. It's going to take decades. Like I told people, we didn't get here in one day. We got here over centuries. So it's not going to happen all of a sudden. But by the time we continue to mount pressure, by the time they see more investment, at the end of the day, business owners want profit. So by the time more investment starts swinging to the area of green funds, naturally they would gravitate towards green funds. And the more challenging part is for countries such as Nigeria, that is not just making money from fossil fuel, but because it's a country that has fossil fuel as a major part of its GDP. So that means we may not even have any substantial national income if we tell ourselves to stop fossil fuel today. So what we can do is to keep advocating for diversification. Before fossil fuels, there was Nigeria, and there was a thriving economy for Nigeria. So after fossil fuels, there should still be Nigeria. We've got this is a known fact. We've got lots of overabundance of natural resources, overabundance of human capital. So what we just need to change our mindset from is the get rich quick syndrome. Because I tell you, fossil fuels is like magic. It brings this instant cash, right? So we need to go back and look at other natural resources that we can responsibly use to make more products that can also generate income for us. Before we got oil in Nigeria, before we discovered oil in Nigeria, we had thriving economies on agriculture, on other solid minerals. So we can also go back to this, and I believe that with time it will work. And I also realize that the political will is very, very important. All this we are talking about will all just be stories if the political will is not there. And that's why a lot of our work has to also do with policy influencing and engaging stakeholders, especially in business and private sector, to make them see what we are saying and then also believe that we need to transition over time. But then it all starts with steps. We're not asking them to shut down the economy right now in 2021, but we can start investment in other areas now to cushion the effect for that time in history where we would shut down on fossil fuels. Thank you.
That was a really, really complete answer. Thank you so much. So we need political will. There was Nigeria before fossil fuels, and we can't do this with the right people around the table and with political will. I see that second speaker, I think Chibuike, has a question. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chibu. It's not a question. I just wanted to consolidate on Mujidah's last question, how countries will navigate towards sustainable energy or green energy. I think the only thing that we need to realize is that we need to start investing in technology. We have not been investing in technology. One day we will wake up and realize that the whole world have stopped using fossil fuel, and then the oil that we brag about will no longer be used, and then it becomes a problem for us. It will be more disastrous if we wake up and nobody is buying the crude oil from us. That will be more disastrous. So I think, like she said, in policy influencing and all that, it will begin to invest in technology. We will even grow past the fossil fuel, and is going to be advantageous to us because we would naturally navigate to the new system and don't have to think about what kind of money we're making from the old system. Thank you.
Great point, Joe. We have to move, really have to move with the times, and the times are changing towards sustainability. We have a question from Joe.
So okay, it's not really a question, but as we speak about sustainability and cutting back on emissions and all that, I just wanted to add to it that that the emissions that we generate from our homes or from our houses are really significant. So if you look at each household, in places, I mean, like Cape Town, where we use heaters. And I mean, we have air conditions in Ghana, Nigeria. We have, we leave the lights on, we leave TV on standby mode, computers on. These all are emitters, and they are all adding up to the global warming and climate change. So I think from the individual level and the household level, we should also think through this and cut back on emissions. Yeah, I just wanted to chip that in. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If that's, you can't have group movement if we don't make decisions to start individually. Thank you so much. We are running out of time. So thank you so much for those of you who stayed with us till the end. It has been a long one, but a very enriching and very insightful one. We have a lot of next steps from each of the speakers. So from Mr. Afful, we have to find out more about the AfCFTA and how small businesses can engage. This is done through the AfCFTA website. You can go on there and ask questions and look for how you can engage or you can profit from this. From Chibuike from Sound Minds, he ran through the gamut of how to create a business and how to engage with competitors, etc. I had my pen and paper out during that time and it was really engaging. Thank you so much. From Joseph from Voice1Africa. I mean, there are so many nuggets there that I think we even have an assignment, and I hope that we see a lot of your emails coming in on how you want to engage with any of the consortiums mentioned. And from Mujidah, we have Think Sustainability, Think Profit, People, and what now? Profit, people, and what? Who was this?
Planet.
Planet. That's actually the most important. Thank you. And you know how we can start thinking of, you know, on an individual level, but also at a company level, how we can move or transition and not be left behind. Thank you so much to all our speakers and all our participants who stayed to the end. If you have any other question or comment or want to stay in touch with Voice1Africa, just send an email either to Joseph or to the email in the chat box, and you will receive a response of how to engage more. For all those who engage on the chat box, hats off to you. Thank you so much. So that we don't take up the whole Sunday evening, we'll just like to say thank you. Have a good weekend and a great week ahead. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you in these spaces, in these business spaces, growing and thriving.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you've been awesome, Chugo. I mean, facilitating and moderating this. Yeah, it's great to have you. And yeah, so on behalf of Voice1Africa, I also want to acknowledge everyone as well. Thank you. Chibuike and then Mujidah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I really appreciate Chugo. I really appreciate Voice1Africa for this opportunity. I don't take it for granted. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Rhoda, can we see you or hear you? Yes, I mean, we are technically ended, but I would like to hear those of you who didn't make it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. The session was so informative. I hope to connect to you guys. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, this is my face.
Beautiful. Yeah. Which country are you joining us from?
I am in Kenya. I'm doing my master's in Kenya. Presently, but I'm a Liberian. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I can hear your accent. Your accent exposes your nationality.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Rhoda, for your participation on the chat as well. It was good. It was good to see you as well. Maybe before one last call to action to end this meeting would be that today is Nelson Mandela Day, as we all know, and he spent 67 years in service and leadership. So the request from the Mandela Foundation is to spend 67 minutes today or tomorrow making someone's life or a community's life better. So that's it. It can be, you know, sharing the information you've gotten from here with other business leaders, connecting, you know, because there's a lot that goes on with connection. So try and he spent 67 years. I mean, most of us are not even 67 yet. So spend 67 minutes doing something to help either an African business, an African, whatever you can do. You know, a small thing goes a long way. Thank you so much. I'll sign off now, but it was great engaging with all of you, and I hope to see you in future Voice on Africa.
Okay, I think I should publish my own 57 minutes. I would want to have a free strategy session with anybody who would go to the website www.soundmindbuildup.com and book for a free session in any of the opportunities to do that. So I will be spending, it might not be at the same, so we'll have a strategy session, then we'll have other session where we can share, but cumulatively it should be 57 minutes. So I think I fulfilled my own Mandela stuff.
You have, definitely. That's amazing, amazing. And if we could share this as well on the Voice1Africa social media platforms as well, so that as well as he is helping African businesses, he can get clarity and social media presence for Sound Minds as well. I think it would be great to have people engage. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great week, everyone. Bye.
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 Au revoir.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Macha.